All right, so if you clicked on this video, I'm guessing that you sometimes feel like you're always running out of time. I'm aware of how that sounds. Like there is always too much schoolwork, too many assignments, too many deadlines, too many demands, too much everything, and not enough hours in the day to get it all done because everything takes forever to do. It is that constant pressure of scrambling to finish a paper, staying up really late to finish homework, trying to catch up on assignments that you fell behind on, or studying for the 3 tests that you have coming up on the exact same day. Now, back when I was in high school, I used to think that if I could just work a little harder or maybe focus a little more, I could somehow manage to handle it all. Multiple AP courses, multiple varsity sports, a part-time job, every after-school club ever that I did. But I have come to learn that A, there is really such thing as doing too much, but also B, the problem isn't that we're not working hard enough. It's that sometimes we're not using our time the right way. And that is what I'm teaching you in this video today. I'm going to show you how to use a psychological principle called Parkinson's Law to get your schoolwork done faster without sacrificing quality or pulling all-nighters, because nobody is here for that. Hi there, I'm Katie Azevedo of schoolhabits.com. I'm a private executive function coach who teaches students and professionals how to study, stay organized, and actually learn without all the stress. I do this in my private practice and through my online self-paced course, School Habits University, where I teach everything I talk about here in a step-by-step format and a full year of Q&A access to me. I have linked that below. But here is what we are covering in this video today. What Parkinson's Law is, in clear, simple terms, don't worry, why it works and how it affects our study habits, how to use it to get your work done faster, and then specific practical strategies that you can implement right away. And plenty of examples along the way, of course. So let's start with the basics. Parkinson's Law is a psychological observation that says work shrinks or expands to fill the time available for its completion. Here's what that means in real life. If you have 2 weeks to write a simple 3-page essay, you'll probably spread it out over those 2 weeks. You might procrastinate, spend a little extra time on an outline, revise it a dozen times. Like our brains would find some way to make it last 2 weeks, and we would justify that time span. But if you only had one night to write that exact same 3-page essay, something would shift in our mental operating system, and we would somehow be able to sit down, focus, and get it done in those few hours. Same task, 2 totally different time frames. So why does this happen? It's because our brain will always try to match a task with the time we have given ourselves to complete a task, whether that's a long deadline or a short one. If we have a long deadline, our brain gets more relaxed. It doesn't sense urgency. We spend time over planning, getting distracted, or just stressing out about how big the task feels. The longer we have, the more our brain can stretch out the work. Then we allow ourselves to do this, and we justify doing this because the deadline isn't close enough to activate that emergency operating system. But when we have a short deadline, even if it's a fake one that we've set ourselves, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, our brain enters a different kind of focus mode. It has to do the thing, so it cuts the fluff, it locks it in, and it gets the job done. All right, so that's why this happens, okay? But right now, it's time to move on to the actual strategies. How do we use Parkinson's Law in real life to manage our workload and break the cycle of procrastination? There are a few different ways to do this. Number 1, set your own deadlines. This is exactly what it sounds like. Choose a deadline that's sooner than the real one. For example, if your teacher gives you a week to complete an essay, you would set your own deadline for, 3 or 4 days. Write it down somewhere you'll see it. Your planner, your calendar, sticky note on your laptop. And I am fully aware that this strategy may seem soft or ineffective. Like if we give ourselves a fake deadline, aren't we going to know it's fake, right? And so it's super easy to ignore because we're like, oh, that's not a real deadline. But listen, when I say this, if you are constantly stuck in the state of taking too long to finish things or procrastinating and not even starting them in the first place, you've got to try something different. And if you are fully open to changing the way that you're doing things because you want a different result than what you've been getting up to this point, this strategy can work. I personally do this. I have coached high-performing working professionals on this strategy, and of course, I'm here teaching it to students. When we create an earlier deadline and we write it down and we put it in our calendar and we take it seriously, we can get our projects or our tasks done by that deadline. If you believe this strategy won't work, it won't work. But if you go all in, it does. Strategy number 2, work in timed focus sprints. This strategy is about creating short bursts of focused energy, and it works because it creates urgency, which activates motivation. It taps into the power of Parkinson's law because we're giving ourselves a specific beginning and end time to get our work done. And because of Parkinson's law, our brain will work its magic and find a way to condense or eliminate the fluff and the nonsense that we like to generate just to do the work. So how do we do this? All right, well, here's what we do. Instead of giving yourself an endless work session where you say, I'm just gonna study tonight or study until I'm done, you set a specific shorter time period, like 25 minutes, 45 minutes, or even just 15. If you have ADHD, I advise 15 or 25-minute sessions. You use a timer and not your phone because that's just asking for it, right? But a real timer, your microwave timer, a computer timer. Get yourself one of those little cube timers on Amazon. That's what I use, no joke, like 10 times a week. And when the timer starts, you work with complete focus. That means no checking your phone, which would be impossible because you put it in the other room anyway. No switching tabs, just full concentration on the task that you've chosen to work on. But here's the little mindset stuff, okay? We can't go through life without the mindset stuff. You're not working for the sake of just working. You're working to see how much you can get done in that short sprint. It's like a game. Is that cheesy? I don't care. Trust me, yes. It is pointless and cheesy if you don't use a timer, but once you set the timer, something competitive is clicked on. For example, let's say that you have to make a study guide for an upcoming test. Instead of vaguely saying, I'll work on it for a while, right? You set a 45-minute timer, write as much as you can in that time, then stop. And when the timer goes off, you assess, did I finish? Did I get more done than I expected? Am I on track? Am I on a roll? If yes, then set another timer and keep going. If you finish before the timer, that's awesome, that's a win. And if you're still working when the timer goes off, you can take a short break, maybe 5 minutes, start another sprint. But the key is in the urgency. You're giving yourself a race against the beep, okay? And that only happens when you use an actual timer. Okay, strategy number 3, use external accountability. If you know that setting your own deadlines isn't enough, this is where external accountability comes in. You're going to involve someone else because we take our commitments more seriously when someone else is watching. Here's how we do this. We tell someone our specific deadline and we ask them to check in on us at a specific time. But don't just casually mention it. Actually make it a thing. Say it out loud to them. Text them directly. This can be a friend, a family member, it can be a classmate, whatever, a sibling. You're creating external pressure, but it's the good kind of pressure, the social pressure, that's helpful. So for example, you could say, I'm finishing this essay by 6 p.m. Text me at 6:05 and ask me if I did it, okay? Or you could say, I'll be done with these math problems by 4 o'clock. Ask me if I've finished by 4:05. I'm gonna create a study guide at 8. I will call you to tell you when I'm done. Now, this isn't about creating guilt or shame if you don't finish. It's about knowing that somebody else cares enough to hold you accountable, and you care enough to keep your word because your word matters. If you struggle with motivation, this can be a really good strategy because you're no longer just letting yourself down, you're letting someone else down too. No pressure, right? And that can be enough to keep you focused when you want to quit. Now, let me share something honest before moving on to the next strategy. When I'm coaching students or professionals on using the Parkinson's law as a tool, and I talk about this accountability approach, sometimes this is where I get the most resistance from people. I cannot tell you how many times that someone has been like, Katie, I cannot use this particular accountability strategy because I don't want someone else to know or to find out that I can't get my work done. And I know what my clients and students are feeling is real. They're afraid of the shame of somebody finding out that they procrastinate. But here's the thing, if you go into this strategy with the mindset that this won't work because I am not really going to do it, then this is not an issue of the strategy being effective or not. It's that you have no intention of doing the work. And that's the issue right there. If the suggestion of bringing in accountability and letting somebody know when you plan to finish a task stresses you out because you genuinely don't plan to work on that task, then something else is going on. It's not actually about the strategy. No judgment. Maybe your goals are off. Maybe you don't actually want the thing. Maybe you don't believe you can do the thing. Again, no judgment on that part of this, okay? But that has nothing to do with the strategy of accountability. That has to do more with the larger picture of what you're working towards and what your bigger goals are. So if you are resisting this strategy because deep down inside you don't have any intention of working on the thing, then neither this strategy nor any other strategy will work. And I say that with all of the loving honesty in the world. Okay, finally, strategy number 4, remove distractions. Like, this strategy is about protecting your focus, and protecting your focus is about protecting your time. No matter how well you set up the first 3 strategies, if you are constantly interrupted or distracted, you're not going to get your work done any faster. Distractions are like little thieves that steal your time one teeny tiny moment at a time, and it stacks up. And most of the time, they're things that we allow in. We think we can fight the temptation to look at our phones. We think we can just ignore the noise around us, but our brains do not work that way, inconvenient or not. Here's the hard truth. If your phone is in your line of sight, you will look at it. If game tabs are open on your computer, you will click them. That is just how our brains work. We don't fight distractions with willpower, we fight them with prevention. So here's how we can do this. Before you start a focused work sprint, get serious about your environment. Clear your workspace. Don't just tidy it, actually remove anything that doesn't belong. Your phone, put it in another room, not in your pocket, not face down on your desk, literally in another room. Your computer, close any unnecessary tabs. If you're studying with online resources, have only what you need open. If you're in a noisy environment, use noise-canceling headphones or find a quieter spot. For example, if you're sitting down to write an essay, but you have your phone on your desk, your brain is constantly going to be battling the temptation to check it even if you don't touch it. That is a constant mental drain. When you take your phone, you put it in another room, you eliminate the temptation completely. That is not self-discipline. That's actually strategy, which is stronger than discipline. Now, if you've ever told yourself, I can focus with my phone right here, I won't look at it. Ask yourself this, has that actually ever worked? Be honest. The fewer distractions that we allow into our workspace, the more powerful Parkinson's law becomes. Your work time stays your work time and nothing else. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the 4 strategies that you can use to leverage Parkinson's law to get your schoolwork done faster. Number 1, set your own shorter deadlines. Don't rely on the final deadline. Give yourself an earlier one. Write it down and treat it like the real thing. Number 2, work in timed focus sprints. Use a timer to create urgency. Work with complete focus until that timer goes off. Use external accountability. This is number 3. Tell someone your deadline and ask them to check in. This pressure can help us stay committed. And number 4, remove distractions. For real. Protect your focus by eliminating anything that could pull your attention away from your work, especially the darn phone. Remember, these strategies are all about creating urgency, cutting out the nonsense and the drama, and getting straight to what matters, which is the work and your time. These are just some of the things I teach inside School Habits University, my online self-paced digital course, where I teach you how to study, manage your time, stay organized, take notes, annotate, all of the things, whether you're in high school, college, or grad school. If you want to learn more, I have linked to School Habits University below the video. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching.